Hey guys, it's Maya Kana. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for stopping by. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 6 components to self-love. The reason I'm making this video is because I know that people realize that you have to love yourself in order to have a effective union or relationship, or at least most people realize this. But I've noticed that a lot of people are stuck on how to love themselves or what that even looks like. So there's many components of self-love, just as there are many components of loving another person. But in this video, I want to talk about 6 components of self-love that you can implement right now. Now, when you're thinking about self-love and how to love yourself, most of us are not hardwired in this direction. Like many of us spend our whole lives thinking about how we can love other people, starting with our parents and family. How can we be loving towards our family? And then a lot of times we just jump right from that into friendships and relationships. And we're always focused on how can I love another person without realizing that those efforts may be in vain until we're really centered in our own self-love. However, if you think about, for a moment, just close your eyes and just visualize that you are sitting in a very comfortable place, maybe sitting on your bed, in your bedroom, where you live right now. And imagine that there's a knock at the door. And when you open the door, you see yourself, only you see yourself 5 years ago. And that version of yourself is coming to receive love from you, to receive love and support from you. How do you treat that version of yourself? Okay, maybe that version of yourself is coming for advice or guidance about how to live their life. Okay, how do you treat that version of yourself? And when you think about that and you think about yourself as like an external presence, sometimes it's easier to conceptualize what that self-love will actually look like. So when you are trying to love yourself, you've got to treat yourself the way that you would treat someone or something else that you loved unconditionally. This sounds very easy. In practice, sometimes it's a bit more difficult. What I found is that the vast majority of people, especially light workers and people that are here as healers and helpers, tend to treat other people a lot better than they treat themselves. And it can be a bit of a shift at first to treat ourselves with so much kindness, because often we take actions that are not that loving towards ourselves. We say things to ourselves that are not that loving. So here's how we can actually treat ourselves in a more loving way. So the first thing, first and foremost, that we do when we love other people is that we are honest with those people. We are honest and truthful. Now, if you want to love yourself, right? If you're working towards self-love, a good place to start is being honest with yourself. Now, you don't have to focus on hard truths, right, about yourself, because sometimes when we love people, we tell them the truth, but we do so in a kind way. Same thing with loving yourself. Now, again, this sounds kind of easy. To implement it, though, can be a little bit more difficult. This is where I started out on my own journey to self-love, was with being honest with myself about my life, okay? So this meant being honest with myself about how I really felt, okay? For a lot of my life, I lied to myself about things, and I would tell myself, oh, I'm happy, oh yeah, I really like, these people in my life or my activities or jobs, but actually I didn't. Like, actually, when I was really honest with myself, I realized that, there were people in my life that were not really supporting me and that were not really kind to me, even though I told myself that they were. Same thing with some of my activities. Like, I'd been telling myself, oh, I love doing this. Like, for example, when I first had my awakening, I was like training for a marathon, and I would force myself like every morning to run, sometimes for like 5 hours. I was like really doing it. And I told myself, I love this. I love running. I love this exercise and stuff. But when I switched into being honest with myself, I realized I don't love this. I hate this. I'm doing this because I hate myself, because I feel like I'm not enough. I need to change my body, etc., right? So a good place to start is being honest with yourself about how you really feel about the things that are in your life, and being honest with yourself about what you've really experienced, what you really value. It is important to look at the ways in which you're lying to yourself, because if you're lying to yourself all day long, that's not love. It's not self-love. It's not, you know? To love yourself, you've got to be willing to be honest and to reveal to yourselves the things that are limiting you. Because when we put ourselves in situations where we're lying to ourselves, that's not healthy. That's not love. And even though sometimes people lie to their partners and they say that it's love, that's not love either. You know, when you really love somebody, you are honest with them because you know that that is what's best for them in the long term. Same with yourself. It starts with honesty. So number one thing is honesty. Number two thing, though, is forgiveness. When we love people, when we really love them unconditionally, we forgive them. And the same goes for yourself. Yes, you've made mistakes. Yes, you've done things that have hurt yourself. Yes, you've done things that have hurt other people. We all have. And part of your journey to self-love is forgiving yourself, knowing that you did the best that you could with what you had available to you at the time, whether that was the consciousness you had available to you at the time, the information, the skills that you had available to you at the time. If we go around like carrying every single mistake in a sack, which like I feel a lot of people do this without even realizing, and they're like, okay, these are all the things I've done that were wrong. These are all the reasons that I don't deserve love. That really is literal baggage. You know, people talk about baggage. That's what they mean. Like people that are carrying around their mistakes and the things they haven't forgiven themselves for. In order to love yourself, you have to stop playing those tapes in your head that tell you what you did wrong and why you don't deserve X, Y, and Z. And you have to forgive yourself. Now, another effective way to do this in terms of visualization is what I kind of just described with meeting yourself. But like imagine yourself, this maybe slightly younger version of yourself or however old you were at the time, sitting next to you in your bedroom or on the couch and saying to you, you know what, I did this and I did it maliciously, or maybe it was even accidentally, right? But I did this and I feel horrible. And just imagine like taking in that version of yourself, embracing yourself and saying, it's okay. It's okay. You know, you did what you thought was right at the time, or you did, you know, maybe you acted out of fear, but it's okay. I forgive you, right? This, again, is something that you might be able to achieve this forgiveness like in a miraculous moment of one day. It could take years, you know, but it's worth it to work towards forgiving yourself for the ways that you've hurt yourself. And I know that there's like some prominent figures in society that talk about forgiveness and that mention that. It's always ourself that we're forgiving. Really, forgiveness of someone else is not really a thing. Usually we have to forgive ourselves for letting someone else treat us that way, right? So spend the time to work with forgiveness. Work with forgiveness, forgiving yourself for letting other people treat you in a particular way. Forgiving yourself for the ways you've talked to yourself, for the actions that you've taken from a different state of mind. You've got to be able to forgive yourself in order to be fully grounded in self-love. And I think a helpful thing to know is that everything in our life really does happen for a reason. Some of it's outside of our awareness. Sometimes we choose experiences, we choose certain people to balance experiences that we may have had with them at a prior time, not in a real harsh karmic way. Like a lot of people talk about karma as something that's really heavy and harsh. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that, you know, we plan our lives in advance and everything has meaning. So sometimes things that are not the best ever, or we don't think are the best ever, might be destined to happen so that we can learn a certain lesson, or even so that someone else can. And that's ultimately benevolent. So we need to be a little bit more forgiving with ourselves about things that have happened in our lives in order to achieve self-love. The third thing is acceptance. Acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. Now, one of the most core components of loving somebody else is accepting them as they are, right? So like knowing, yes, they can do this to grow. Yes, if they did this or this, they might be better in this way. But like love is acceptance. Love is, I see you right now for where you're at, and I love you for that. And that's where you have to be with yourself as well. Like, yes, you want to grow. Yes, you want to change. Yes, you want to achieve this or that or the other thing. In order to get there in a loving way, you got to accept yourself for who you are right now, knowing that where you are right now is the perfect place upon your journey. So sometimes, you know, the best way to transmute something with love is to accept it as it is. And a lot of times that creates space for things to actually change. Fourth thing here today, fourth thing is action. So self-love as action. This one I think it seems obvious, right? We have to take action in a loving way towards ourselves if we love ourselves. In practice, it's a bit different. Because if you really are honest with yourself, you ask yourself, what are the ways that I've taken action that have been harmful to me? Because when we really love ourselves, we don't act in a way that harms us. Just like you don't poison someone that you love. You don't hit someone if you love them unconditionally, right? So why do we treat ourselves that way? You know, we need to focus on our actions and making sure that the actions are loving towards ourselves. Are you forcing yourself to take action on something, even if it's something good, like the example that I described with training for a marathon? Are you forcing yourself to do actions that are not out of love to yourself? Are you taking action that are out of self-hatred, out of areas of self-hatred? Now, a lot of us take actions knowing that they harm us. Now, typically we don't physically abuse ourselves in that way, right? But we often do things knowingly that are not loving towards ourselves. For example, you know, eating foods, for example, this is one of many examples that we know are toxic to our body, that we know are killing us. And doing that over and over again, that's not self-love. Like, if you know that something's doing damage to yourself, but you're doing it anyway, that means you're damaging yourself. That's not self-love. Putting yourself in a situation over and over and over again that makes you feel bad, that makes you feel disrespected, that's not self-love either. So one of the most loving things that we have to do, you know, when we're on the journey to self-love, is to start saying no to things that hurt us for whatever reason. And sometimes that means saying no to things that we've been doing for years and years and years. Maybe we're part of a group, but that group never has appreciated us, and people constantly speak disrespectfully to us, and we always feel worse after we engage with that group activity. Part of the journey of self-love is saying, why am I doing this? Why am I taking action? Why am I participating in this group when it constantly makes me feel worse? That's not self-love. You've got to say no and stop doing the things that are harming you. And for every single person, those things are different, you know, the things. And maybe if you're very close to, like, we can always love ourselves more, but maybe if you're very, very far along in your journey to self-love, it could be more subtle things, more subtle actions that are not loving. Sometimes those actions are actually thoughts, right? The things we say to ourselves that are not loving, the way we should ourselves, you should be doing this, like, you could be better, you're good, but you're not good enough. Like, for this reason, like, would you ever speak to someone else that way? Literally, like, most people wouldn't, right? But we speak to ourselves that way. So treating ourselves in a loving way, in the way we act, in the way we speak to ourselves, like how we would treat someone else we love, that's an actionable way to achieve self-love. The next thing that I have, number 5, is protection. So one of the things we do with things that we really love, whether it's like our pet or a child we love or our partner, is we try to protect them from harm, right? This is a big part of loving another, you know, and this is a big part of loving yourself. You have to think, am I intentionally putting myself in harm's way? Could I be more protective over myself? Yes, we have to make mistakes to grow. Yes, oftentimes we grow more if we experience pain. But are we taking the necessary steps to protect ourselves from harm in the way that we would with somebody else that we really love? This is a component of self-love, not intentionally putting yourself into harm's way. And this can include energetically as well. One component of self-love can be like actually shielding or wearing protective crystals or stones, or avoiding people that, you know, drain us and deplete us, etc. Protection of ourselves, a very important component of self-love. And the final component that I have today, number 6, is nurturing and self-care. Okay, so intentionally nurturing ourselves, intentionally approving of ourselves, intentionally engaging in self-care. These are all parts of self-love. So think about the way that you nurture someone that you really love, supporting them, encouraging them along their path, feeding them quality, healthy food, and doing things that help them to feel closer to their soul and more in alignment and to feel self-worth. When we love ourselves, we engage in that nurturing and self-care as well. Now, not to say that we can never do things that are not caring for our body, etc. Like sometimes self-care might be calling into work, and sitting at home and watching your favorite movie and having ice cream or something like that. That can be a part of it. But if you're engaging every single day in things that are not contributing to the care of your body, mind, and soul, it's not love. Like, it's not coming from a place of self-love. So oftentimes this can be a good starting place with nurturing yourself with loving thoughts. Like, it depends on where you're at. For me, my mantra is always all is well and everything is unfolding perfectly. Like, everything is unfolding perfectly because it calms me and it helps me to feel secure and feel just loving in my environment. But whatever it is for you, that helps you to feel loving towards yourself. Like, sometimes people like to say mantras like, I am whole, I am worthy, I am a radiant, being of light, like these types of things. I see my light, I see the beauty of my soul, and I embody this and radiate this, and like whatever it is, mantras like that make you feel loving, or taking time to detox your body, to drink enough water, to take salt baths to clear your energy, investing in self-care activities like massage or acupuncture or sports if that's what does it for you, taking time to talk to your friends if that's what makes you feel more connected, if that's what makes you, feel energized, whatever it is for you, but engaging in those activities more, and certainly making sure that you're giving yourself more time and attention than what you're giving to other people, or that at least you're filling your own cup first. That's important. That's an important part of self-love. Really, truly, we cannot serve others and we cannot love others until we're centered in our own place of self-love. So if you really want to be of service, if you want to help other people, and if you want true love, you've got to start with loving yourself. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you again for watching this video and for checking out my channel. It's been a pleasure, and I'm wishing you many, many blessings on your journey to self-love. So thank you again, and namaste. Have a great day, and be prosperous and be joyful, and may it be filled with love. So thank you again, and talk to you later. Bye.